There was a time when leaving your house without a phone didn't feel strange at all. It was normal. You walked outside, went about your day, and if something happened, if you needed help, needed to call someone, or were running late, you had only one real option. You had to find a payphone. And here's the detail most people today can't even imagine: you also needed coins. No coins meant no call, no exceptions, no backup, no second chance. That small detail made payphones feel more important than they might seem now. They weren't just a convenience. They were a safety net. A quiet system that people relied on every single day without even thinking about it. They were everywhere. On street corners, near bus stops, outside stores, inside shopping malls, at gas stations, in airports. You could walk through almost any city in the United States and expect to see one within a few minutes. And because they were always there, people stopped noticing them until they started disappearing. And almost no one noticed that either. So what actually happened to payphones? How did something so common, so useful, and so deeply built into everyday life almost completely vanish? To understand this, you have to go back to a time before mobile phones existed. Back then, communication worked very differently. If you weren't at home, people couldn't reach you. There was no way to send a quick message or check in. Plans had to be exact. You agreed on a time, you agreed on a place, and you showed up. If something went wrong, there was no easy way to fix it. No quick text, no live location, nothing. That's where payphones came in. They gave people a way to stay connected in a disconnected world. Using one was simple. You picked up the receiver, you heard a dial tone, you inserted coins, then you dialed the number. And once the call started, every second mattered, because time literally cost money. If your coins ran out, the call would end. No warning, no extra time, just silence. That changed how people spoke. Conversations were shorter, more direct. People didn't waste time. They said what they needed to say and ended the call. Payphones shaped behavior. They were used for everything. Kids called their parents after school, workers checked in during breaks, travelers confirmed plans, drivers called for directions, and in emergencies, payphones were often the fastest way to reach help. For many people, they were not optional. They were necessary. Behind the scenes, there was an entire system keeping this running. Large telecom companies installed the machines, maintained them, repaired them, and collected coins from inside. Each payphone had to work in all kinds of weather, heat, cold, rain, snow, it didn't matter. And they broke often. Receivers were damaged, coin slots got stuck, lines stopped working, and every time something failed, someone had to fix it. It required constant attention. But it made sense, because people use payphones all the time. For years, this system felt stable, reliable, permanent. Most people didn't question it. It was just part of the environment, like streetlights or traffic signs. Then something new entered the picture: mobile phones. At first, they didn't seem like a serious threat. Early cell phones were large and heavy. The batteries didn't last long, calls were expensive, and coverage was limited, especially outside major cities. Most people didn't see them as a replacement for payphones. They saw them as a luxury. So life continued as usual. Payphones stayed in place. People kept using them. Nothing seemed to be changing. But slowly, quietly, things began to shift. Mobile phones started to improve. They became smaller, easier to carry, more reliable. Prices began to drop. More people could afford them. And as more people started using them, the value of having one increased. Now, instead of searching for a payphone, you could just reach into your pocket. That one change started to break the old system. At first, the effect was small: a few fewer calls, a few fewer users. Payphones were still there, still working, still part of daily life. But the trend was clear. People began to rely less on public phones and more on personal ones. And then the pace increased. As mobile phones became more common, the need for coins disappeared. People stopped carrying them. That alone made payphones harder to use. Even if you found one, you might not be able to use it. That small inconvenience pushed even more people away. Then came the next major shift: smartphones. This was not just an upgrade, it was a complete change. Now phones were not only for calls. You could send messages, take photos, check maps, browse the internet, and stay connected all the time. Communication became instant and constant. You no longer had to plan everything in advance. You could change plans at any moment. You could say, "I'm late," or "I'm here," or "meet me somewhere else," instantly. Payphones couldn't compete with that. They were fixed in one place. You had to go to them. They offered only one function, voice calls, and even that function was limited by coins and time. Compared to smartphones, they felt slow and inconvenient. At the same time, they became less profitable. Fewer users meant less income, but the cost of maintaining them didn't go away. Machines still needed repairs, lines still needed service, locations still needed to be rented. In many cases, payphones also became targets for vandalism. Receivers were broken, metal parts were damaged, sometimes entire units were destroyed. Fixing them cost money, and with fewer users, it became harder to justify those costs. Companies began to remove them. Not all at once, not with a big announcement, just one by one. A phone would disappear from a corner, then another from a store, then another from a station. Slowly, the network shrank. Places that once had several payphones ended up with none. And most people didn't notice because by that point, they didn't need them anymore. There was also a deeper shift happening at the same time. People's relationship with communication changed. Before, communication was limited. You had to think about when and how you would contact someone. Payphones were part of that system. They were a backup plan, a tool for specific moments. Now communication is constant. You don't think about it, you just do it. Call, message, share instantly. When something becomes that easy, the old way quickly feels unnecessary. And once something feels unnecessary, it disappears faster than you expect. Today, payphones are rare. In some places, a few still exist. They are kept for emergencies or for people who don't have access to mobile phones. In certain cities, they are preserved as part of history. But for most people, they are no longer part of daily life. Many younger people have never used one at all. The fall of payphones was not caused by one single moment or one single invention. It was a combination of changes. Mobile phones reduced the need, smartphones replaced the function, and changing habits removed the last reason to keep them. What makes this story powerful is how quietly it happened. There was no clear ending, no day when everything stopped, no big headline that said this is over, just a slow fade. Year after year, fewer phones, fewer users, less importance, until one day they were almost gone. And most people didn't even realize it had happened. That's how everyday things disappear, not with noise, but with silence.